We often find safety in numbers, adhere to the activities of the crowd, or join together and unite around things that are important, areas of focus, causes, or form cliques when we find delight in being similar. But does that change when we talk about astrology and stelliums? Peace, my name is Stacy Patrice. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk to you about stelliums and how to pay attention to what's happening in your natal chart or transiting chart. And let's talk about what it really means and why it's important when you have a stellium in your chart. So first off, we'll start by talking about what a stellium is, which is a grouping of planets, usually three or more, in the same house, in the same sign. This usually constitutes cleanly as a stellium. Some people will consider a stellium to be a grouping within a certain amount of degrees that may also be in another sign. If you utilize Placidus or, some of these other less neat house groupings or sign groupings, then you may have a different definition of stellium. However, the definition that I'm working with today is three or more planets united in the same house under the same sign. And this is generally where we can start. And of course, you can build as your knowledge takes you further, you can build from that from there. So, stelliums in astrology are rare, especially if you think about what this means. It means that all of these planets were together in this particular sign at this particular point in time. And then it translates to this particular house in your chart, this particular area of intense focus or theme. And I like to think of stelliums like cliques. Who you with? Like your clique, what grouping you have can often have more emphasis and be of more importance than that lone placement that's in an inconspicuous house or has a particular color or meaning or quality. Paying attention to the group is important as it relates to astrology because it does have an intense focus. It does have a deeper theme or direction or emphasis or intensity on your soul journey when you're looking at this stellium. And the reason that that's important is because you can look at all these other signs. They can be in pairs, they could be individually, and what have you. And you don't even have to have the sun or the moon in your stellium for it to render more importance in your life, but especially if it does, right? So your stellium is going to be something that is saying that all of this clique has this focus in your life. So the first thing that we do is we look at it like a hot spot. It's a place in your chart where the eye, like it's, usually drawn straight to it because of the simple fact that they're all there together. But in the fact that you have them all there together, it's also important to pay attention to a few other things. So, one is what are the planets that are together? Which planets are together? Is it your sun, moon, Mercury, and perhaps Saturn, which might have a different thing than if it is your moon and Mercury and Mars? Right? So, like knowing which planets are in your stellium or paying attention to which planets are in your stellium is of utter importance. And it's not just because of what those planets represent, but it also is important because those planets acting together and the degrees between those planets also has action in your chart naturally before we even address that it's a whole stellium. That relationship between those planets has action, has meaning, and has intention, right? And may even have tension between each other. So understanding that dynamic, it's like when you're thinking about a whole bunch of siblings. Let's say it's you and you have three other siblings and you all grew up under the same roof. Or if you are roommates with three other people and you live in a house, there's just certain things that you all are going to have in common. And those things that you have in common are going to kind of direct the energy in your life. Even if you are very different people and you have characteristics, there's something that drew you to the same place at the same time that involves your own investigation, your own understanding. Like, what is that energy that's happening between these characters, right? So when you think about it in your chart, it's really no different. There is an energy of each planet, and there is an energy when they are together, and there is an energy between the degrees of separation between those planets. And even if they are spread across the entire 30 degrees, it's still a stellium because they're in that house and in that sign together. Now, Think about this in terms of your clique or your group of friends. Maybe you all went to the same high school together, or maybe you all are like really great friends. You go to brunch every Sunday. There are just certain characteristics and things that you all share that are going to be repeated and are going to be understood and known as being how everything functions. Well, that's kind of like the color, or as I like to say, that's the sign that's over that house where those planets are. It's kind of like the energy, the general nature. Whether you're paying attention to the element, like whether it's earth or fire or air or water, whether you're paying attention to that element, making it maybe more grounded, more emotional, whatever that is, or whether that is just simply the specifications of that sign. Just like if it's all in Capricorn, right? Then maybe you all are a little more focused, a little more stern in your approach, a little more ordered and organized and, career focused or financially focused or, something like that. Maybe you have that because of that kind of work ethic that you all share. And so that is important too to say, how are these planets acting under this sign or in this sign? And of course, if you're doing sidereal astrology, you also need to pay attention to, of course, the nakshatras, right? But that's another video for another time. In the meantime, we're just paying attention to what that cluster or that clique looks like if they're all the same sign. So yes, if you and three of your friends are all the same sign, you're all born around the same time of the year, you all have the same, sun sign, right? Let's just use it as an example. Then how it is that you'll get together will matter. But let's think about this if you have that click, just to create difference. If you have that click and you all have Capricorn in something, like maybe one person's a Capricorn sun, maybe another person's a Capricorn rising, maybe another person's a Capricorn moon, another person has Mercury in Capricorn. That's going to make a difference in how you all relate to each other. But there still is that presence of Capricorn in your clique or in your group or in your siblings or, whatever that is, right? So that quality is still there, even if it's playing out differently between each of you. Same thing is true with planetary quality. That quality is there, but it plays out differently based on each of the planets. But then let's take this a slight step further. Let's look at this in terms of not just, you all having that quality, that sign, but that you're all under one roof. So now this differs between like your brunch group or just your group of friends. We're talking about people who are closely and intimately in the same place. So this would be like your family unit all under one roof. So let's say you're a family unit. You all have some element of Capricorn and you all grew up under one roof. That means that the rank is a little different, but the strength could even be a little different, but you still all have something that unites you that are in common, right? So if your mom, your dad, you, and your sibling all grew up in the same house and you all had a planet in Capricorn, this would probably be an even more delicious example of how stelliums work. And if it's just all siblings, that would probably be even more because you're all on the same rank, on the same level with these differing qualities. So, not to confuse, just to remind that you're looking at the fact that they're under the same sign, under the same house, and it's three or more planets in that same concentration. That's what we're looking at. So, yes, this depends on the element, it depends on the sign. You can find all the differences in the world, but are you willing to look at the similarities? Are you willing to look at it as a theme? What is the theme that I need to look at? Okay, so if whatever sign is in provides a theme, but also the house it's in provides a theme. So let's say the house that you all are all in is the eighth house. Ooh, so four different planets in Capricorn in the eighth house starts to draw even more clear picture about what could be happening, especially if you understand which of those planets might actually do well in Capricorn versus which ones might actually not do well in Capricorn, if there that is a thing in those planets. And when you're looking at it, you want to really start to analyze each of these parts because a stellium is a phenomenon in and of itself. So before you even get to the rest of your chart, you want to really look at what that stellium is indicating and take it through each of those filters. The eighth house is ordeal. It's the ordeal. It is the way in which things tend to bubble up and come up to the surface. It's the way in which cycles tend to show you their definition, what it is, what it isn't. And some would say that Capricorn doing that can be more decisive and advantageous. And other people might say, oh my gosh, I would not want Capricorn with this heavy energy, this very focused energy. That must be crazy to have Capricorn there in the eighth house, where it's all these hidden depths. Oh my goodness. Depends on the interpretation that you bring, and also again what planets, and also what those aspects are, what the lord's the lord of that sign is, you know what I mean, is it in that house? All of those things can intensify. What I want you to do, if you're looking at your own chart, is to just look at first and see if you have any stelliums, right? If you don't have any stelliums, then this is just something for you to know and understand, maybe in transits, right? So if you do not have stelliums in your chart, maybe when the sky lines up and there's a stellium, such as several planets in Pisces, if you have 4 or 5 planets in Pisces, like we just had multiple planets in sidereal Aquarius not too long ago. When that grouping, that stellium of planets moves through your section of your chart, then you have to look at where is that sign. Okay, it's Aquarius. Let me look at where Aquarius is, and then where Aquarius is in my chart and what house Aquarius has in my chart is going to give me some information about what this theme is that is transiting through my chart. What is it taking me through? What is it showing me? What is it giving me? Okay. So there's lots of ways to look at stelliums. Stelliums can be fun, but for the people who have them, they can be very trying when they're activated, because it just seems to shake up everything. It seems to emphasize things that a person is not thinking about, a person might not even want to deal with. But because it is a life theme, it is something you have to grow accustomed to. You have to analyze and investigate what it is that you will be faced with over and over again, what is repeating in your life, what requires emphasis and focus, where your life skills are, depending on the degrees, what lessons are being mastered. All of these things are interesting. And if you love these kind of conversations and you love looking at your chart in sidereal astrology, do register for my online course, To the East. We are starting on April 19th. And To the East is this wonderful self-study where you have guidance inside of this container where we're able to discuss on a regular basis weekly about your particular chart. If you're coming from tropical and you want to take a look at sidereal and see if it resonates, this is a wonderful course for you. You will provide an exchange of information as you study and learn through your own chart, those kind of things that catch your eye or that change from your understanding of your identity through tropical. And it becomes a wonderful learning and engagement through the other people that are in the course with you, as well as solitude and time for your self-study based on the terminology and the information that I'm giving. It is an activation of presence. You will need to be present in order to fully take advantage of To the East, not just showing up inside of the modules, but also making sure that you leave space for study, for self-study, for yourself, to study yourself. And also that you are very open and clear about concepts and how you want to understand their connection. All of this is so critically important in order to be a part of it. It is the yogic tradition of self-study, otherwise known as Svadhyaya. And Svadhyaya is self-study in the way that you are reflecting and looking upon yourself. You are bringing yourself into yourself instead of externalizing all things out there. You are bringing yourself into yourself. And this is how we create a beautiful connection with the cosmos, one that is worth the time, energy, effort. And then you have a lifelong skill to utilize as things change, as we learn more about our solar system, about the cosmos, about our universe. You have something that you can continuously evolve from this foundational information. Go to stacypatrice.com/to the east. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video. I would love to hear if you have a stellium, maybe what house it's in, what sign it's in, and how you feel about it in your life and what themes it brings up for you, okay? And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Peace.